The top two teams in the Premier League, Manchester City and Arsenal, face off in what should be one of the games of the season, and yet once again, the storyline is the officiating. This is becoming a far too frequent problem, not just for the Premier League, but across European football, although it is worse in England than anywhere else, and we've got to talk about how we can fix this and give the officials a chance to be better at their jobs, because right now, they are not up to the standard of the Premier League, and it's something we need to fix. We're going to talk about some ideas on how we can do that next, here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub. So let's get a few things out of the way right from the start. First of all, yes, I am American, and yes, I am going to suggest some outside-the-box ideas. Just by default, because I'm an American, you are not going to like them. That's okay. Right now, your game is broken. The way this game is officiated is broken, and I'm not sure it is completely the official's fault. The second thing I want to get out of the way, I'm not defending Michael Oliver or his decisions or any of the other officials. They are not particularly good, and they are wildly inconsistent, and that is one of the problems. And part of that is because they are not empowered to make the right decision all the time. So I think the blame partially falls on the individuals and partially falls on the structures and the framework within which they are expected to operate. So I think it's a two-pronged problem. We can work on one of them today. Lastly, obviously I am a City supporter. I'm not going to get down the rabbit hole of the actual calls other than to say a few things from that game. I don't want to debate it. It's not really the point. The point is that we are stuck debating that rather than the play itself, and that is the problem. So that's what I want to attack today, but before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. Again, I don't care so much about if the calls were right. I care more about what the officials have to work with and how we can make them better so that we're not always talking about them. Get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub and check out the website pitchsidepub.com. So let's get a couple things out of the way right off the bat. I do not like the rule about issuing a yellow card for the delay of the restart, right? If you kick the ball away or do anything to delay the restart, automatic yellow card. I do not like the rule. That said, it has now been enforced with great impact twice on Arsenal, and it was correct both times. I don't think there's really any arguing that, no matter how ticky-tack you think the Declan Rice one was, or if you want to try and justify Leandro Trossard and say that he was still in the flow of the game. They weren't. They just weren't. There are some inconsistencies. It is not always enforced correctly, and it has not been. That is a major problem. The Jeremy Doku one in the same game, not at all the same. He was actually putting the ball where the official was telling him. So, yes, there are inconsistencies. Yes, it was a bad rule, and both times it was enforced correctly for Arsenal, and I know Arsenal fans are going to hate that. Be mad at the rule. You should be mad at the rule. I do not like the rule. And that's part of what I want to talk about today is the fact that the Premier League and PGMOL does not do themselves any favors here, particularly when it comes to public perception. And public perception matters. There is a public perception, a growing public perception, that there are conspiracies, that this is not on the up and up, that there is wild favoritism. And I'm here to tell you that is blatantly wrong. None of that is correct. Arsenal fans, I'm sorry, nobody's out to get you. Sometimes teams get screwed more than others. Sometimes teams also toe the line more than others. Arsenal, that is definitely you. You have an undisciplined team who is doing some dumb stuff, and you're giving them no choice. In fact, in the Declan Rice incident, the audio has been released from the official where he said, "I don't like this, but I have no choice." Boom, yellow card. That's the problem. He is actually saying exactly what I'm saying here, which is he has no choice, but he should. We've got to give the officials some more jurisdiction, some more leeway, some more options for when this happens. So they just don't do themselves any favors. And this one with Trossard in the Man City game was such a great incident because we all went to halftime. I think most fans, I certainly did, we went to halftime under the assumption that it was the foul on Bernardo Silva that warranted the card. And that was so much more justified. Now, you can say that Michael Oliver had let a lot of contact go in that game, and he had. And if you want to argue that that should have been one of about 3 or 4 more yellow cards in that first half, I'm with you. You could have argued that the Kai Havertz one to start the game should have been. There were a couple on City that could have been called. He probably should have issued significantly more cards during that game, although I will say the pushback from Anthony Taylor's yellow card-a-thon the previous week may have made him a little gun-shy. He didn't want to be the storyline the way Anthony Taylor was in a game that you knew was going to be physical. So, again, we're not giving the officials a lot of options here. But the Trossard foul on Silva was more contact than any of them. So if any of them were going to warrant a yellow card, it was that one, and he already had a yellow, so it was just dumb. And we should not be in the habit of excusing our players for making dumb mistakes. Then the Premier League goes off and makes it worse by going, well, actually, it wasn't because of the contact. It was because he kicked the ball away. Oh, what are you doing, Premier League? You're just opening up Pandora's box. And whether it was right or wrong, why? Just why? And part of the answer is that they're trying to prove this point because this is a point of emphasis for them this season. The not delaying the restart problem that they identified, and their only way to solve it is by issuing yellow cards. And therein lies the problem. We need more options for officials, or at least less of a punishment. There have been, some wacky ideas proposed, a blue card or a penalty box kind of situation where a player who gets a blue card goes out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, what have you, and then can come back in. I don't love it. I think it goes against the spirit of the game, but you can understand why that might be a better option for something silly like this. Here's my proposal. The issue I have with issuing yellow cards for the kicking the ball away on the restart thing is the double jeopardy that comes with a second yellow equaling a red and a player going off, right? When you've already got a yellow and then you do this dumb thing, you are giving the official no choice. Just like he said to Declan Rice, hey man, I don't like this either, but boom, sorry, you gotta go, you kicked the ball. What if there was less of a punishment for this? What if a second yellow that equals a red is not the same as a straight red, right? So straight red stays as you're out and you get banned for a couple games and your team has to play down a man, right? It's triple punishment, right? There's actually 3 punishments for getting a straight red card. Well, 2 yellows ends up being the same thing. What if getting the second yellow meant you're off, but you're not banned for a couple games, and oh, by the way, your team can replace you, right? So Trossard has to go. He got his second yellow, but Arsenal doesn't have to play down a man. Or maybe that's not always for 2 yellows, but when the second yellow is this ridiculous kicking the ball away penalty, that the team doesn't have to play down a man, because that's the real impact here. The impact for Arsenal would not have been losing Trossard. It was playing down a man for the second half. That's the impact. That was the impact for Arsenal when Declan Rice got kicked off. It wasn't the loss of Rice that would have hurt, but it was really the playing down a man. So what if we lessened the penalty for this? Because that's the issue, is the Referees Association and the league want to stop this delaying of the play thing, and I understand that. I'm not against that. And they have basically said, well, hey, this'll do it. This'll get through to apparently everybody but Arsenal players, that you can't do this or else you're going to get a yellow. And yes, even if you're already on a yellow, you're gone. See ya. I mean, I understand making the point, but it is too extreme. And it's too extreme because the officials have no other recourse. So when that happens, yeah, boom, Trossard, second yellow, you kick the ball away. See ya, buddy. But hey, Mikel, you got to put a new guy on at halftime, right? It's something. I know it's out of the box, and I know coming from an American, you're going to hate it, but at least it's something. How much would that game have changed if Arsenal didn't have to play down a man in the second half? They might be walking away with 3 points. So you've got to give the officials some sort of recourse to make the calls and not have this massive impact on the game. I like that option better than the blue card, right? Different types of yellows. There are yellows for violent fouls. There are yellows for simulation. There are yellows for yelling at the official and protesting and things like that. They're not all the same, right? So if that second yellow is not a violent foul, it's not a contact foul, but it's simulation, or it's protesting, or it's this delaying the restart, then it doesn't count as having to go down a man. The player gets the second yellow, he's off, but he can be replaced. I would be okay with some sort of change like that. I think we need to empower the officials, because at the end of the day, they don't want to impact the game like this. I believe Michael Oliver does not want to impact the game like this. In fact, the last time they played, he openly said he didn't give a second yellow to Mateo Kovacic because he didn't want to impact the game like that. Now, That's wrong. He never should have admitted that. And if he's not giving it then, he shouldn't give it now. I agree with the inconsistency and the fact that Arsenal fans are angry about that. He absolutely should never have come out and said that, and I would imagine he was reprimanded for it. But I understand his point. The referees genuinely don't want to be the center of attention, maybe minus Anthony Taylor and all his yellow cards. But more often than not, I don't believe they want to be the center of attention, and they don't want to impact the game, and they definitely don't want to be the storyline on Monday, because when the officials are the storyline, it's because they did something wrong. It's always for bad reasons. Nobody ever talks about, man, let's talk about how great of a job the officials did No, nobody does that. So if we're talking about officials, it's for bad reasons. They don't want that any more than we do. So I understand that they don't want to impact the game in that way, which is why they let certain things go and why he was trying to let the players play and be physical early in the game till it finally got to a point where he said, all right, well, I got to start calling some stuff. So I get that, but we've got to give them a way to not do that. I have a couple other ideas. I think there needs to be a second official on the pitch. I think one guy, and I did a whole video on this a couple months ago that I don't think anybody's really seen. They need help. They need help. There's so much to see out there. The Erling Haaland bounced the ball off of Gabriel's head. 100% should have been a card. And we shouldn't be celebrating that. It's kind of funny. But if it was my team, if I was on the other side, I wouldn't be. Obviously, I'm a City supporter. I will admit that I chuckled at first, but it's not funny. We shouldn't be laughing at that. He should have been carded. He probably should get a suspension for that. Why wasn't it called? Because nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. It was 3 seconds after the game-tying goal. Everybody was going nuts. Even the VAR guys were probably like, oh my god, nobody saw it. Nobody saw it till afterwards. So another set of eyes out there would help. Better angles on fouls. Better angles on the foot coming in. Does it impact the ball or the player first? Not that that's in the rule book, but that's typically how it's called. Just more help out there for these guys. The pitches are, the players are bigger, faster, stronger. The pitch is huge. We're substituting players out because they can't run a full 90. The official's going back and forth the whole damn time too. He's going to get tired. He's going to take a little break when he can. He's going to get naturally, I don't want to say lazy, but he's going to have to pick and choose his moments to really sprint. Why is there one guy out there trying to do all this? Well, the answer is because that's how it's always been. Now you've got an American suggesting a fundamental change out there, but it should be. They need help out there. You can argue that there aren't enough good officials to do that, and you'd be right. Obviously, PGMOL needs to get into their training practices and how they evaluate officials and do more to get better officials. But having two out there would make it a lot easier. The officials have an unenviable task. And again, I'm not defending Michael Oliver or Anthony Taylor or any of these guys, but they have an unenviable task that is almost impossible to do well. And then the vitriol that is spewed their way when they make a mistake is just unbelievable. And so I don't envy them, and it doesn't shock me that there aren't enough officials, because who the hell would want to do this? I don't blame them. So they got to get them some more help. PGMOL also needs to get some non-British officials in there. Expand the pool. Get some guys from other countries. Anything to get better officials. But I do think they need to be empowered with more tools to elicit punishments. One of the biggest problems is that the punishments are so cut and dried. Yellow card, red card. I talked about this after, I think it was the last City Arsenal game, when Jeremy Doku's foot came in high and he sort of caught the ball, but he also caught the chest of the opponent, and it was in the box, and a penalty was not awarded. And I've argued there should be non-penalty fouls in the box, right? If it's a foul that impacts the shot, sure. But if it's just, or even the build up to a pass, where something that impacts a goal scoring opportunity, sure, 100% a penalty. But if it's one of those sort of incidental contact things, in that play, if you remember back from the end of last season, it was a loose ball bouncing around, it was up in the air, they both went for it, and a foot sort of caught a chest. Was it a foul? Probably. Did it warrant a penalty? No. And the response was basically, well, that didn't warrant a penalty. Well, a foul's a foul, right? And I am typically the one to argue a foul is a foul. And it does not matter if it is late in the game. It does not matter if a guy already has a yellow. That's the argument for the Trossard foul. That was a foul. That was a foul that warranted a yellow card. It didn't matter that he already had one. That's the justification for the officials giving it for the delaying the restart penalties, right? Doesn't matter that he already has one. What you did warrants a yellow card. Well, that should be the same thing, but the officials hesitate because they don't want to impact the game, and I understand that. And That's probably right, but they shouldn't have to make that judgment call. So the judgment call they can make is, did this foul impact a scoring opportunity? If not, foul, maybe free kick from that spot, but you go to build a wall, or maybe we take it back out to the outside the box. I've suggested that in the past. So you've got an 18-yard free kick. You still get a benefit. The foul is still punished, but not to the extreme nature of awarding a penalty kick that goes in 70% of the time and can change the outcome of a game, a season, and a title. This is the problem. Officials have so little recourse. They can ignore it. They can call a foul but no card. They can give a yellow. They can give a red. That's it. And sometimes these things fall in between, and that is the problem. So I don't love that we're talking about officiating again. I don't think Michael Oliver did a great job controlling that game. I don't think a lot of the officials are good, but some of them have to be decent. They can't all be bad. Just mathematically speaking, that's not possible. Some of them have to be decent. I don't know which ones are. I've never heard anybody go, oh, okay, well, he's a good official. No, it's always he stinks, he stinks, he stinks. They're all corrupt. Everybody's getting money, blah, blah, blah. It can't be true. It can't be true. But we've got to help them be better. And the league has to make some adjustments so that this isn't the storyline every time we have what should have been a game of the season with that ending. Oh my gosh, that was such a good game if you can look past the call. And that's what it always comes down to, is the call. And it's partly because officials don't have the proper recourse. I know it's outside the box. I know I'm an American and you don't want to hear suggestions from an American for your game. Get over yourselves, because what I'm saying makes sense. If Trossard had been kicked out for violating that rule, right, but we had lessened the penalty to make it less extreme, and so he could have been replaced by a teammate and Arsenal didn't have to play down a man. You cannot tell me that would not have made for a better end result and less impact on the game. And that is what we're all going for here. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Comment on your thoughts. Just give me anything other than you don't know what you're talking about because you're American, because that is just so lazy and such low-hanging fruit. Any other comments than that, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You can also leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel and check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.